Guys, there are spoilers for this film and this review, so if you don't want to get stranded at sea, go out, watch the film, then come back. You have been warned.
Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Runtime HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Runtime HD, and this week we watched Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. It is a survival thriller slash horror. There's like a lot of gray area there. It can be mixed. I don't know. But this film, I think, was really enjoyable and really fun, but it was also like, I really liked the central conflict of the two main characters, and I thought it was very interesting and very entertaining. But before I go on a whole tangent, why I like this film, I'll tell you why I liked it and more. Back to the house.
Let's not forget, I'm your boss. You work for me.
We're not in the office anymore, Bradley. You ever hunt? I think I like it. You are stuck with an asshole boss. Just like I was. Although I'm betting I am a much nicer boss than you ever would have been. Except for maybe this part. I don't think we should ever leave.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week we watched Send Help, the new Sam Raimi film, who I'm sure you've heard of. I don't need to tell you who Sam Raimi is, but this film was also starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien as our two lead characters. And this film is, it's called a survival horror, but obviously there are like horror elements in there because it's a Sam Raimi movie, but it didn't really feel too horror-ish to me, so I think it's more of it's a comedy thriller, like kind of a mix of that, but it could be horror as well. I don't know. Like, it's kind of a gray area there. But either way, this film I thought was a really fun time. I really enjoyed it. It has that signature Sam Raimi camp, right? There's, of course, being a Sam Raimi movie, there's a lot of screaming women, or screaming woman, because there's only, there's one woman in the movie, but she does scream a lot, because that is Sam Raimi's forte. He is a horror guy. But of course, there's also the Sam Raimi camp of just a bunch of unnecessary, spooky shit. I mean, some of it makes sense. There's a scene where she hunts, basically a rabid boar. It's super aggressive, and it's, screaming, but it's, getting snot and blood everywhere, right? And it's just, super gross and disgusting, gratuitously, right? But that makes sense to be, a little horror-y, because she's, hunting a dangerous animal, so that makes sense for it to be a little spooky. But then there's, she has, a nightmare sequence where she has, guilt over killing someone. I'll get to that later, but she has guilt over murdering, two people, right? And so, the vision is, taunting her, you're a murderer, why did you do this? And then she swings, her torch at it, and they disappear. But then it's a nightmare, and she wakes up, and then there's just a random zombie, basically, that is not supposed to, I don't think, represent anybody in the movie. It's just a random fucking zombie with missing teeth that goes, ah! Jump scares the screen. It is so fucking stupid, but in all the right ways, right? When I saw that, I'm like, fucking Sam Raimi. It's just classic Sam Raimi. I'm sorry. I can't be mad at it. And there's another, jump scare in the movie that is equally as cheesy and corny, but again, it made more sense because it at least it wasn't just a random zombie popping in front of the screen for no reason. The guy was there earlier, so it made sense for his body to swing in front of the screen like you're wearing 3D glasses. But either way, I thought the signature Sam Raimi camp was very much appreciated. This movie has a lot of charm, I guess, is a good way to describe it. It has a lot of charm. And I think, obviously, there's also some, really weird close-ups, that are, just, way too close to the actors, that's more in the beginning of the movie. But, again, just a lot of, charming camp. However, what about the other stuff? What about, because the main premise of the movie is Rachel McAdams. She works at this company, right? And she's a very valuable asset. She's a hard worker. She's really good at basically everything, right? Or at least what she's assigned to do. She's like probably one of the hardest workers in the entire company. And the previous CEO, who was the father of Dylan O'Brien, he was going to promote her to VP of the company. He was going to give her a big promotion, a big raise because of how great of an asset she was for the company. But he passed away, he died, and his son took over, and he's just like the biggest douchebag on the planet. Right? He's like the biggest asshole. Like he's like the definition of spoiled rich boy asshole douchebag. Like if that was like a term, which it probably is, basically just like a rich boy. That's basically what he is. Biggest asshole in the world. And he's like, he doesn't like her simply because she mildly inconvenienced him. And he's also like probably, he is also misogynistic, right? So he's just, and also he wants to give the promotion to his buddy who he was in like a fraternity with, like when they were in college. So of course he's like, oh, I don't want to promote this person who's an actual good worker. I'm going to promote my asshole friend who I like, right? And of course, so the beginning of the movie, she's like powerless in this company basically. But then, so he invites her on a plane to go to like for a merger with another company. And essentially, I'm pretty sure he just invites her there to, like, mock her, basically, just to fuck with her, just so that he can, like, laugh in her face, basically. He doesn't actually invite her to, like, have her prove her worth. I'm pretty sure he did it just to be a dick, right? But of course, like the film, if you watch the trailers or even looked at the poster, the plane crashes, and they're the only two survivors in the wreckage. And now the film establishes that, like, on her shelf there's a bunch of survival books, and she, like, watches this, like, survivor, like, game show, right? She's, like, a really big into, survival is her hobby, right? Like, survival skills is what she does for fun, basically, right? So this is her natural element, right? And she is just having the time of her life, basically, just, like, creating this fort and doing, like, creating a fire and hunting things. She's just having a grand old time being out in the wilderness, just doing, like, survival stuff. But of course, he's a dude who doesn't even know how to cook for himself, right? This guy has, like, he always, like, eats fast food or has a chef cook for him, right? And he's basically just had everything handed to him in his life. So, of course, he's fucking miserable, right? And he can't do anything on his own, right? And it's kind of funny because this movie is a black comedy. So, like, at the beginning of the movie when she saves him, which she's a better person than me. Because if I was her, I wouldn't have even saved his ass. Because he was such a prick. And I would have known that he would not have appreciated anything that I was doing for him, which he doesn't. But I'll get into that later. But she basically treats him like a child, right? She's basically, like, babying him at the beginning of that part, because she's, like, trying to give him water and trying to give him, like, food and protein to, like, keep him alive, but he's just going, he's, like, moving away, like you're like, oh, here comes the airplane, right? Essentially what was going on, right, was he was acting like a baby, like a little toddler that didn't want to eat his veggies, right? That's what he was acting like. He was completely incapable of taking care of himself, right? And they had, like, kind of flipped the roles, where she was completely powerless in the office and he was, controlling the situation, but now he was completely powerless and she was controlling the situation. And the whole movie is just kind of like a bitter, like, back and forth between these two. And there's even a point in the movie where, like, the whole beginning of the movie, I'm like, this guy's a piece of shit. Like, she shouldn't even be helping him, right? But then in the middle of the movie, they kind of, like, try to convince you that maybe he's not that bad. But then the movie makes you realize, no, he's actually just an asshole. And he will never change, right? He is just an irredeemable prick that doesn't deserve anything. But our main character, who she is, like, so good-natured, right? And she just, like, is trying to help him the whole movie, when, again, she's trying so hard to, like, get through to him, and it just never works. And it's, like, kind of frustrating to a point where, like, girl, you need to let it go, Like, he is not going to appreciate any of this. And it's just like, I think she gave him way too many chances. Like, she probably should have killed him way before she actually did. Right? Which, I mean, obviously spoilers, but I mean, with the way this movie was, one of them was gonna die. Right? Like, it was literally like where you're pitting the two against each other. Because as I said, they're kind of friends in the middle, but he's only like pretending to be friends with her so that he could use her so that he doesn't die, because he clearly can't take care of himself. So he uses her as like basically a tool for his own survival. He manipulates her to get her to take care of him. And then he tries to escape by poisoning her and trying to go escape on a shitty raft that immediately breaks and he almost drowns. And then she saves him again, which I'm saying, she gave him way too many chances. And it's like, he literally poisoned you. He literally poisoned her and she still saved his life. Again, she's better than me. But, then, eventually, they're kind of, then after, like, the poisoning thing, they're very, like, passive-aggressively, like, kind of going at each other, right? And then there's a lot of competition there. And basically the whole time, he's just, I need to get out of here, right? Like, I don't want to stay here 1 second longer. He wants to leave and go back where he's the CEO of the company and he can boss everybody around again. And then eventually he had a fiance that was introduced earlier in the movie, and she comes back, right, to get them back. She finds them. But then, our main character, who we only have seen, I mean, yeah, she was a little crazy, because she was like, you know, I mean, you kind of have to be crazy to be a good survivor, if we're being completely honest. Like, there was a couple screws loose there already. But then she straight up murders the fiance, who did nothing wrong. Mind you, she was completely innocent. It's not like, I mean, maybe she was as bad as him, but from what we saw, she seemed completely fine, right? So she murders the fiance and, like, the driver dude who took her there. And clearly she, like, is hung up about it. Like, she wasn't completely heartless. I mean, she kind of was. She murdered 2 innocent people in cold blood, but she's hung up about it and she doesn't like doing it, but she did it because she's like, we gotta stay here longer, right? Because she didn't, what was there to go back to, essentially, right? Like, her life was so much better when she's in control, when she's surviving, and she's, as I said, in her natural environment. She's in her natural element as, like, a woodswoman just surviving off the land. I don't know if that's a word, but woodswoman is now a word. But she just likes surviving off the land, right? But then eventually, obviously, he finds out that she murdered his fiance, and then it's the final confrontation, the showdown between him and her, Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams. And it's actually pretty intense. I didn't know who was going to come out on top. I was half convinced that the ending was going to be they were both going to die, right? I was genuinely convinced that that's how the movie was going to end, and I was surprised when it didn't end that way. I'm not, like, I was a little frustrated, and then I'm like, no, that makes sense. The ending that happened made more sense after putting some thought into it. So essentially what happened is she genuinely cared about him, right? She genuinely liked him, but he didn't. And he was he was manipulating her the whole movie. Even when it seemed like he was being nice to her, he wasn't. He didn't mean a goddamn thing that he said. The whole movie, he was basically bullshitting her just to get on her good side so that he could then toss her aside and he could survive himself, right? And I assume if he had survived and she had died, he would have taken all the credit. Because he seems like that kind of person. But then, of course, he's an idiot, of course, and she outsmarts him, and she ends up dealing with him and killing him. But the kind of, I guess, it's not really a good ending, but it's not really a bad ending either. It's kind of like a middle of the road, because eventually she becomes, like, this famous survivor who, like, you know, became, like, I guess, a hero in that sense. She became, like, a legendary, I guess, golfer, too, because she was golfing at the end. Which is like a callback to early in the movie where it's just like, oh, she doesn't have the appearance. She's not a people person. She can't be like him. She doesn't even play golf. And then at the end of the movie, of course, she's playing golf because it kind of reveals she became him, right? And maybe this is just a personal interpretation, but I think the whole movie, she was being as kind as possible as she could be to this fucking asshole. And she was trying to be as nice and as courteous as possible, even at the beginning of the movie with her colleagues. It's not even like she was antisocial. She was trying to engage with them. She was trying to hang out with them, and they just didn't budge. They did not want to be associated with her at all, no matter how nice she tried to be. Oh, she just was ugly, or she was smelly, or this or that, right? Just superfluous things. So she realized at the end of the movie, in my opinion, that what's the point of being nice if nobody's going to appreciate it? Right? If nobody's going to appreciate me being kind, what's the point of being kind? Not saying I agree with that, but I feel like that's the conclusion she came to, where she's like, maybe I should just be a selfish asshole that only cares about myself, because then at the end of the movie, everybody loves her, right? She's great, and she's like this awesome survivor when she's just a selfish asshole, but the world loves selfish assholes. Most celebrities are selfish assholes, right? Not all of them, but most of them. Right? Because, I mean, how are you going to get that high up without screwing over other people? I mean, granted, they probably didn't murder 3 people on an island in Thailand, but it's a similar idea where you're going to have to fuck people. Well, it's not a similar idea. You're just going to have to fuck people over if you want to get big, right? If you want to get big as like a celebrity or that sense, you have to fuck people over, essentially. It's a selfish business. Right, being famous is naturally kind of selfish, right? Because, I mean, you're getting the spotlight over other people. You kind of have to take opportunities that screw other people over if you want to get bigger. Obviously, as I said, not everybody, but I'm kind of rambling here. But that's kind of, in my opinion, the interpretation of the ending, which I think is fitting, right? I feel like that the whole movie kind of led up to that point. Either way, I'm just kind of rambling here. I'm going to get into recommendations. Would I recommend this film? Yeah, I totally would recommend this film, actually. It was, obviously it's not perfect. I do think, I think it gets a little slow in the middle. I think it really ramps up at the end. I think the ending was also a really big highlight. The final showdown between our main 2 leads was really engaging, but I also think there was a little bit of slowness in the middle. Not too much, it was a bit of a nitpick, but either way, I think despite tiny little things, I think I would recommend this film if you're a Sam Raimi fan, if you're, I guess, a survival fan, if you're a comedy horror fan. There's a lot of enjoyment to be had with this. And with that being said, what would I rate this film? I think I would rate this film a 7.5 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I have something to say. Think of my piece. So, guys, hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. But what I really meant to say is if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, and tell me how much you hate me in the comments. And I've been Runtime HD. Off to fend for myself. So I was watching this movie, right? And like the whole time there was this very like sweeping orchestral score the whole time, right? And I'm like, oh, this soundtrack's great, right? And then at the end, I see like this giant list of like instruments and musicians, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of people. They had like a whole orchestra here, and I'm like, oh, it's Danny Elfman. I mean, of course the soundtrack was amazing, or the score was amazing. It's Danny fucking Elfman, so that's pretty good. That was a nice little surprise that I did not know he was doing the score for this, but that's a plus. I think that actually just adds a point to the movie in itself. If your movie has a Danny Elfman score, it just immediately improves it. It's just how, I don't need to explain it. If you know a Danny Elfman score, you know what I mean. I don't know what that means, but I feel like you know what it means, and that's what's important.